Hey everybody, this is Matt Atkinson, and you're watching Forward Gettysburg with Aaron Smith.
What is going on, everybody? Aaron Smith here with another episode of Forward Gettysburg. Thank you all so much for joining me. As usual, I know it's been a little bit since I've last put out an episode. The holidays, New Year's, put in for promotion at work, all kinds of great things. I've been courting a wonderful young lady, so that's been going really great as well. So I do apologize for the delay in putting out a video, but here I am. And this is a video I've wanted to do for a little bit now. I wanted to talk about the Baltimore Pike. However, filming that came with some challenges. The Baltimore Pike is one of the busiest roads in Gettysburg. So instead of being out there and having to fight over the noise of traffic and all of this and that, I'm coming to you from the Forward Gettysburg studio, aka the War Room. Now, interspersed in this video, I was able to get out onto the battlefield right after our first snow of the year, and I got some really cool shots. So, related, not related, I don't know. Kind of an excuse to put some really cool snowy shots in. But let's talk about Meade's Road, the Baltimore Pike. So, the Baltimore Pike was officially chartered in 1807 by the Gettysburg and Petersburg Turnpike Company. Petersburg was the name for Littlestown during the early 18th and 19th century here in Adams County. Littlestown is a small little borough that lies in the southeast portion of Adams County. 97, modern day 97, the Baltimore Pike, it runs from Gettysburg to Littlestown south into Maryland, where it then becomes Maryland State Route 97. It's one of those unique roads that keeps its number designation as it crosses state borders. From the Maryland border, it runs south into Westminster. I can tell you, I used to work in Westminster. Hitting 97, headed north at the end of a workday is just god-awful. It's a two-lane road for a little bit right outside of Westminster, where it has a junction with Route 140. And then from there, it's a single lane. If you're stuck behind a slowpoke or something like that, you're done for. You are done for. From Westminster, it heads south all the way to Silver Spring, Maryland. Now let's fast forward to 1863. Why is the Baltimore Pike so important? In fact, so important that I titled this video, Meade's Road, the Baltimore Pike. Well, there's a few reasons. Before the Battle of Gettysburg, late June 1863, the Army of the Potomac is operating in northern Maryland, especially around Frederick, Maryland. Now, when Meade takes command on June 28th of 1863, Meade has two orders. One, to stop the invasion of the North, and two, to protect Baltimore and, more importantly, Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, Lee, he has been operating along this axis between Chambersburg and York, Pennsylvania. If you look at that axis on a map and you go south, nearly every single road starts to converge in Carroll County and Frederick County. So there are a few key roads that Meade needs to protect. The Baltimore Pike is one of them. That is probably going to be the most direct route from where Lee is operating in Pennsylvania if he were to condense his forces and make a move on the nation's capital. So the Baltimore Pike is incredibly important. Meade is going to put out the Pipe Creek Circular. And if you guys are interested more in the Pipe Creek Circular, make sure you check out the video I've done about it. It's an earlier video. It's a little rough compared to the newer ones, and I might have to revisit that topic because growing up in the area, I am absolutely fascinated by the Pipe Creek Circular. Essentially, the Pipe Creek is a small little body of water that runs from Frederick County all the way through Carroll County. I actually had the pleasure of taking some of the roads that run parallel to the Pipe Creek around Christmas time from my mother's house in Hagerstown to Hampstead, Maryland. So pretty much from Washington County, clear across Frederick, and essentially clear across Carroll County as well. I can see why Meade loved that piece of terrain. There's high ground running parallel to the creek, and all of the creek, the line that he was developing, essentially covers the approaches that Lee likely would have taken if he made a move on Washington. So he puts out the Pipe Creek Circular. Then they run into the Confederates at Gettysburg. The rest is history. However, based on how spread out the armies were still operating under the assumption that the Pipe Creek Circular, the Pipe Creek line, was going to be the line they were going to fight on. That was their orders. So you had the 6th Corps operating all the way out in Manchester, Maryland. Then you had the 5th Corps, the 12th Corps, the 2nd Corps, and then out on the far left flank around Emmitsburg, you had the 1st, 11th, and the 3rd Corps. So the army is spread out, but that's by intention to help cover the approaches to the nation's capital. Of all the roads that the armies are spread out upon, the Baltimore Pike is the most important. You see, when Meade took over command of the army, he realized that if he was going to be operating in northern Maryland and southern Pennsylvania, he needed a solid supply depot. And he finds that depot at the terminus of a railhead in Westminster, Maryland. That railhead then is going to run about 10 miles to the west to Union Bridge, Maryland. So now Meade has this supply line. Rewind back to the beginning of the video, the Baltimore Pike goes directly to Westminster. So now Meade has his most important supply road, the Baltimore Pike. Not only that, but when the Battle of Gettysburg finally kicks off, most of the Army of the Potomac is going to make their way in some way, shape, or form up modern day Maryland and Pennsylvania 97, the Baltimore Pike. You have the 5th Corps. They're going to make their way up. Now, they'll shoot off at Union Mills and they'll go up through Hanover, through Bonnytown, modern day Bonneville, but they're going to make their way that direction. But you also have the 12th Corps under Slocum. They're going to make their way up on the Baltimore Pike. And then you have the enormous 6th Corps under John Sedgwick. Now, the 6th Corps was the largest corps in the Army of the Potomac. Some estimates put it somewhere between 14 and 16,000 men. Just for reference, that is about the size of the borough of Hanover, which is nearby Gettysburg. That is about twice the size of modern-day Gettysburg, which has around 8,000 residents in it. So this is an enormous mass of men, and they're going to make their way from Manchester. They're going to first mistakenly go to Westminster instead of headed north, and then from Westminster, they're going to make their way north along the Baltimore Pike. These men are going to be doing some 30 miles of marching over a span of less than 2 days. They are absolutely exhausted, but nonetheless, they're going to make their way up that Baltimore Pike. That is the most important road that Meade controls. And mind you, Meade only really controls 2 roads during the entirety of the Battle of Gettysburg, the Taneytown Road and the Baltimore Pike. And you can see Meade start to appreciate the importance of this road almost as soon as the end of day 1. Not only does he realize that's his supply line, not only does he realize that's where most of his troops are coming from, but he is going to actually build his defenses in a way that is going to essentially envelop that road. Meade starts to place troops along Culp's Hill. That area starts to become reinforced. Culp's Hill is going to represent one of the approaches to the Baltimore Pike. He, of course, is going to have Cemetery Hill, that great bald hill right in the south of town that they're going to turn into essentially a fortified artillery indomitable position. Then he's going to stretch his troops along Cemetery Ridge. Now, not only is it just convenient that we have all these topographical features that Meade is able to take advantage of surrounding that road, but that road is what he is trying to defend. He recognizes that, one, if he still is going to hang on to that Pipe Creek line, that Pipe Creek circular, the Baltimore Pike is going to be one of the most important routes that his troops are going to need to retreat down in order to fill into position along the Pipe Creek. Also, if things go bad for them, that's going to be their line of retreat. That's going to be the way they're going to skedaddle on out of town and fight another day. That's obviously not what he wants to do. He's going to stand and fight the Confederates at Gettysburg, and we see the fruits of that decision come forward at the end of the battle. He also needs to protect his supply line. If that supply line is gone, the campaign is gone. So Meade recognizes 100% the absolute importance of the Baltimore Pike. Well, guys, that's what I have for you. Just a short little video. I hope you enjoy some of the things I talked about, the importance of the Baltimore Pike. It might be some stuff you already knew about. Maybe it's just Gettysburg 101 for you. Maybe it's something you hadn't really considered. I think a lot of people get into the weeds looking at all the different places, the Wheatfield, Devil's Den, Culp's Hill, Cemetery Hill, the locations on the battlefield. They kind of get down into that micro level instead of taking a step back and taking a look at the macro level, some of the logistical decisions, the geographical decisions behind why Meade decided to fight where he fought and what was some of the most important roads and assets to him at Gettysburg. As always, my name is Aaron Smith for Forward Gettysburg. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, maybe leave a comment or two. Let me know what you think. I will catch you on the next one.